Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter, and this is Cookies and Canvas for Kids. All right, today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint these jolly giraffes, and I'm going to be eating these delicious hazelnut oatmeal cookies. So let's paint our canvas and eat our cookies. All right, so for the materials today, what I'm going to be using is a stretched and primed 16 by 20 canvas. You can get it at any of your local craft stores, or you can order online, and of course you can switch up the size if you want. I'm going to be using acrylic paint, and the colors I'm using are titanium white. This is purple violet. This is a Mars black. This is burnt umber, which I will call brown. This is burnt sienna, which I will probably call rust. And this is a deep yellow. And of course you can switch up those colors if you want, but that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using 3 brushes. The brushes I'm going to be using are a 1/2 inch bristle brush. This is a number 12 round brush. And this is a number 0 round brush, and I will refer to them as small, medium, and large throughout the painting process. I'm going to be using a number 2 pencil as for my initial sketch. You are also going to need a cup of water for washing your brushes and a paper towel for drying your brushes. And below the painting in the description, I'm going to be putting a text for the step-by-step instructions that you can print if you want to. And I'm also going to be putting a downloadable image of the final painting. So you can download that and print it and use it as your reference as you go along during the painting process. And I'm also going to be putting in the description a recipe for these delicious hazelnut oatmeal cookies. And that's all you're going to need today. All right, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to outline the giraffes with our pencil. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to start with the big giraffe, and I'm going to start the head first. This head is going to be diagonal. It's going to be really big, and it's going to be the shape of a peanut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down maybe about 1/4 of the way down my canvas, and I'm kind of in the middle of my canvas. And that's where I'm going to start. And to know where I'm going to go to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up about 1/4 of the way up my canvas, and I'm going to come over about 1/4 of the way, and I'm going to make myself another dot. That way I know where the bottom of the head and the top of the head are. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself kind of the shape of a peanut, and I want it to be kind of crooked like this. It's going to make the giraffe look like he's kind of tipping his head a little bit.
Hello.
So you can just work at it and get it, if you need to adjust it any, you can certainly do that. That's why we're using a pencil. And then once I have that shape on there, of course you can widen it if you want to. Once I have that shape on there, I'm going to do the neck. So my neck is going to come up a little bit down the head, maybe to about here. And then up on this side of the canvas, it's going to come up maybe about 1/3 of the way up your canvas. And then you're going to connect these with a little bit of an arc. It doesn't have to be a straight line. You want to arc it a little bit. Then you're going to come down maybe a couple of inches into the face, maybe right about here. Make yourself a mark. And then down at the bottom of your canvas, you're going to come over about 1/4 of the way. So you can eyeball, you can say, here's my halfway mark, and then come be about halfway between that and the edge of your canvas, and that's going to be about 1/4 of the way. And then I'm going to connect this to this with another arcing motion. So that's going to be my neck. Now I'm going to do 2 ears. I'll do one on this side. It's going to start right here, and it's going to come up maybe about, I don't know, 1 inch or 2 up the head. So again, I make my 2 marks, and then I'm going to make these big, huge ear coming off the side. And then I'm going to make another one over here. So I want the width to be kind of similar to this, but I'm going to put it up here. So maybe there, And then I'm going to make this big, huge ear up here that kind of bubbles out. Something like that. And they don't have to be exactly the same size, but something similar would be great. And then I'm going to go and make my other cute giraffe down at the bottom. So I'm only going to be doing the top of his head. So I'm just going to come over maybe about an inch or so from the right hand side of my canvas, make myself a little mark, and then I'll come over maybe about a third of the way, make another mark, and then you're just going to connect them with the top part of the head. Then I want a couple of ears. So this ear maybe is going to go off of my canvas, and then this ear is going to come somewhere over here. And you can make the ears big if you want, or little. And that's all I'm going to do for my initial sketch. All right, so what I'm going to be doing for the next step is I'm painting my background. I'm going to use my large bristle brush, and I'm going to be using purple and white. And I'm going to use them both on my brush at the same time. I'm going to be applying my paint in a circular motion. You could do dots, you could do X's, whatever brush stroke you want to use is totally fine. I'm going to want my background to have light spots and dark spots. So sometimes when I pick up my paint, I'll pick up more purple, and you can see I've got darker areas with the purple. I do want my background color to go right up to my outline of my giraffe. So you want to make sure that you paint right up to the edge of the giraffe. And it's okay if you bump into the giraffe a little bit, no worries there. And you can, like I said, you can have light spots and dark spots. That's what the beauty of painting with two colors at once can do. You can have a variation of colors. So every time you go to pick up paint, I don't wash my brush. I just, one time will pick up more purple, next time I'll pick up more white, and that way I've got this really cool background that has multiple shades of purple in it. And the reason I'm using purple, you can use whatever color you want. You could have a blue background like the sky, but I'm using purple because it's a nice complementary color to the yellow that we're going to have on the giraffe. So this will work out really nicely, and I just wanted kind of like an abstract background that didn't have, you know, the sky or anything like that. I just wanted something fun and playful. So I'm choosing to use a color that you might not find in nature, which I think is really fun, and it gives you the personal touch of making your own piece of artwork, because you can put it whatever color you want to. And again, I'm making sure that I go right up to the edge of my giraffe. But again, it's okay if you bump into it a little bit. And every time I go to pick up that paint, I'll pick up maybe more white one time, maybe a little bit more purple the next time. And I've got these light spots and dark spots, and it looks really, really kind of cool. And I'm almost done here. I just want to make sure I get all the way down to my little baby giraffe that's going to be poking his head off the bottom of my canvas, which is going to be super cute. And we're just kind of finishing up here. In these little spots, you just go a little bit slower. That's going to help you to make sure you get that paint right up to the edge of the giraffe. And then again, I'm just using these circles to fill it all in. Get right along the edge of, oops, that ear's going to just trim that ear, make that ear a little bit smaller, but that's all right. And then I have a little tiny space that I can't forget over on that right hand side below the right ear of the small giraffe, but I want to make sure I get all of this before I go over there so I don't forget any spots. All right, almost done here. And then I just have that little tiny spot over here underneath this ear. I want to make sure I get that all painted in. And then for the next step, we're going to be using that medium brush. So once you get this background all nice and painted in, and you make sure you get it all right up to the edge of the giraffe, you can put this large brush away in your water cup and take out your medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step, we're using our medium round brush. We're going to paint the base coat on our giraffes, the ears, the head, the neck on both animals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a custom color. So how I'm going to do that, I'm going to use my yellow. I'm going to add some white to it, and I'm going to add a little bit of my rust or my burnt sienna. So what I'm going for is kind of like a light beigey yellow color. I don't want, to me, giraffes they have a yellow kind of tone to them, but they're not vibrant yellow like the sun. They're more of a nice kind of gentle yellow. So I just add a little bit of white and rust to my yellow color, and this gives me a nice soft, like pale, creamy yellow. And that's the color that I'm going to use to paint my entire giraffes with. So you're going to paint the neck. You could use I suppose your larger brush to paint this in, but I'm using my medium brush so that way I can get right up to the edge of the ears and all of the areas that might be a little bit too small for the big brush to fit in. You can use a lot of paint on this step, so it shouldn't take you too long to paint it in, but you do want to make sure that you have mixed enough paint so you have enough to fill in both of the giraffes along with the nose and the ears and the face and the neck. So if you feel like you're running out of paint at this point, you'll want to mix up a little bit more so that way you have the same color or a similar color throughout both giraffes. I suppose one giraffe could be lighter or darker than the other, but if you could keep a consistent color on one of them, that would be great. And then that's the neck, and now I'm just going to kind of go and paint in my ears, and I want to go right up to that background. I don't want to have any vacant space between the giraffe and the background. So you want to make sure that you get this paint all the way up to the edge of the background and that you get a nice full coat. And you probably will see some of your pencil mark through that paint, and that's okay because we're going to be doing other details on the giraffe later that are going to disguise those pencil marks, and you won't be able to notice them once we're all done. And if you do, you can just do a second coat, but right now I'm not really caring whether or not I can see those pencil marks, but I do want to go right up to the edge of that background. So if the paint is a little see-through, that's okay. Don't worry about that. But you do want to get it right up to the edge of the background. And this one's taking a little bit longer than the small one is going to because there's more area for me to cover. And again, you could, I suppose, if it's taking you a really long time, you could certainly switch brushes to that bigger brush, but I do like using this medium brush because it gives me a lot of control around these edges. And I'm using a lot of paint. That way, when I do go to those edges, it gives me a smoother look. So I'm not fighting with dry paint. It's giving me a nice filled in, solid look right along those edges. And you might find your giraffe kind of takes on a little bit different of a shape when you go to do this. You might end up making it a little bit bigger just because you're trying to get that paint all the way to the edges, and that's okay. It's all right if your giraffe grows a little bit during this step, and you just want to make sure you have a nice even coat all along the whole giraffe. And now I'm going to go and do this little guy down here. He's going to have his couple of cute ears that we're painting in. I got one, here's my second one. And again, these ears might get a little bit bigger as you do this because you're just trying to make sure that you get all the way around the edges and make sure that you get all the way to that background. Oops, there goes my palette. I'll have to pick that up in a second. And again, just want to get this all the way to the edges. All right. And then we are going to use this same brush for the next step. So once you get these all nice and colored in, you're going to wash and dry that medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to be doing for the next step is we are adding the horns and the mane onto both. Well, we're doing horns on both and then the mane on this one. The colors that I'm going to be using are black, brown, rust, the creamy color that we made, and white. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to start with black, brown, and rust all on my paintbrush at the same time. And I'm going to be making the base for the horns. I'm going to be, you can put them kind of wherever you want on the top of the head. I'm going to do this one maybe about 1.5 inches or 2 inches tall. And I'm not really terribly concerned about how perfect it is at the head. The messier it is, actually, the more natural it's going to look. And same thing with the top. And then I'm going to do a
see you later,
one right
bye-bye.
here. And if it looks just black to you, just pick up a little bit more of that rust color. And then I'm going to just kind of tap it in where it hits the head. I'm going to do the same thing on my little guy right here. He kind of looks like he's sticking his head out of a Jack-in-the-Box. He's super cute. I'm going to do 2 little horns right here. And I'm just going to make them pop, stick on the head with a wiggly kind of line. It doesn't have to be a perfect line. And I've got one in through here, just kind of popping that on there. And again, the messier it is when it touches the head, the better, the more it's going to look natural. And then I'm going to do the same color combination, which is the black, brown, and rust as my base coat for the mane. So I'm going to start really small up here. And I'm going to just kind of almost wiggle it in a wiggle kind of line down that neck. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger over here. So brown, black, and rust. Little wiggle line. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the fluffy part on top of the horns. So I'm going to use, I did not wash my brush. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that creamy color, rust and white. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to polka dot. So it's going to end up looking like it has that fluffy part at the top of the horn. And you can really have fun with this. And again, I'm using the rust, the creamy color, and the white. And I'm not polka dotting it too much. I just want a little kind of fluffy part up there. If you polka dot it a lot in one spot, what'll happen is it'll all turn into one color, and you want to kind of have this almost fluffy look to it. So just tap, tap, tap your brush so you have this little fluffy part. I'm going to put a little bit more rust on this one, maybe a little bit more white on this one. And you can do the same with these on the mane. I'm just going to kind of poke out these little pieces of fur. I think that's what it is. Hair. I don't know what's at the top of the mane on a giraffe here, but I'm just kind of taking my brush with that creamy color, white, and a little rust, and just kind of popping it up, almost like little pieces of grass on the top of the mane. And that's all I'm going to do for that step. So we are going to use this medium brush for the next step. So when you're all done with that part, just wash and dry that medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step, we're using our medium brush, and we're going to be putting the spots on our giraffes and putting the colored part in the ears. So the colors that I'm going to be using are brown and rust. And I'm going to start with my ears first. And you probably can still see your outline of your head in through here where your ears meet your head, That's where you want to start the inside part of this ear. So I'm just making myself a little line like that, and then I'm gonna go like this. I wanna leave a little of that light part on the outside, and then you're just gonna kind of color this in. I'm using both the brown and the rust because I think it looks really natural, or a little bit more natural than just one solid color. And then I'm gonna do the same thing over on this side. I'm going to do a little outline right by the head, and then I'm going to take this, do almost my outline kind of part, and then I'm just going to take these two colors and color it in. And if you use a lot of paint, it's going to make it look darker. If you use a very little bit of paint, you'll be able to see through the color, and that'll make it look even more natural. And then I'm going to start my spots. I'll put some on the head in a minute, but I'm going to put some on the neck first, so you can do the same thing that you did with the ears where it separates the head from the ear. You can do that with spots on the neck. So you probably can see your outline, your pencil outline here. So I'm going to take one of these spots and just kind of outline that. And I'm making an uneven spot because when I look at giraffes, they have all kinds of different shapes to their spots. And when I go to pick up more paint, I'm picking up brown and the rust color. And then I'm just going to kind of wiggle it wherever I want to, all over my giraffe in these kind of chaotic little spots. It's so fun because if you look at all kinds of animals in nature, there's so many that have their own unique colors and spots to them. There's leopards that have, you know, these really cool markings, and cheetahs and zebras have their stripes, and you know, it's really awesome. I love nature and I love all these little animals, but you can see I've got some dark brown and some rusty colored ones, and that's because every time I go to pick up a color, I'm not really concerned if I have more of the brown or more of the rust on my brush. And this way it makes it look even more, you know, natural and fun. And then I'm going to put a couple on the face. But when I go to do the face, I'm going to be mindful that I am going to have some eyes, a couple of nostrils, and the mouth. So I'm going to put maybe one up here. And again, you can really have tons of fun with how you put these. Maybe I've got a little one here. Maybe I've got one little one over here on the face, and maybe it's got, you know, a big one here. You know, just have fun with this. You can put them wherever you want. Maybe I've got some there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my little guy down here. I want to do his ears just like I did here. So I'm going to just kind of outline a little bit right by the head and fill in the center of the ear. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. I can't wait to put his eyes on. He's going to be so cute down here. I don't know if it's a he, but the little giraffe down here is going to be extremely cute. And then maybe I'll put a couple of spots on its head. I don't want to do too many because I know it's going to have some cute eyes. And then I am going to switch brushes to my small brush for the next step. So once you get your spots all over your giraffes, you can put your medium brush away in your water cup, take out your small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're doing our facial features. And I'm going to be using my small brush, my number 0. The colors that I'm going to be using are black, white, and rust, and brown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just black, and I'm going to put some on my brush, and I'm going to be doing the first step for my eyes, which is going to be oval shapes. So I'm going to have my eyes on the top part of the head. So you don't necessarily want your eyes down here. You want to have them up here. These are going to be ovals, and they're going to kind of be tipped a little bit because I want my giraffe to look like its head is tipped. So I'm following the direction that my head is tipped in to create these ovals. And you can make them as big or as small as you want. That's going to be a personal preference. You might want to have these big, huge eyes. You might want to have these little kind of beady kind of eyes. Maybe your eyes look really, you know, wide open and alive, but I'm just going to make mine probably, I don't even know what the size of this is. I don't know. It's like a big peanut, the size, but it's not curved in like this. So just a big oval. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go down and do the ones down here for the little guy. So those ones are just going to be peeking up from underneath, you know, the canvas. So I'm going to just do the top part of these eyes like this. And then I'm just going to color them in black. So just color it in black. And the reason why I'm doing the eyes first is because I want this black to dry a little bit, because we've got one more step that we're going to do on this part of the eye, and I really want it to dry for a minute. So once you have the eyes, the center part done, now what we're going to do is we're going to do some eyebrows. So eyebrows are really fun. I'm just going to do some arcing eyebrows. You could have yours, you know, going straight up like he's, you know, angry or happy or curious. I'm going to put a couple eyelashes at the top of the eyes, something like this. And the more eyelashes you have, the more like a girl it will look. Then I'm going to put come down to my little guy and do the same thing. I'm going to put some eyebrows on this one. Maybe I've got this one a little bit more like curved eyebrows. Maybe a couple little eyelashes coming off of this one and this one. And then I'm going to go do some nostrils. So my nostrils I'm going to have past the halfway mark of the head. So if the halfway mark is right about here, you want your nostrils to be a little bit lower. And these are going to look like little teardrops. So what I do is I'm going to make a small circle, and then I'm going to, on the inside towards the middle of the face, I'll bring it down in like a little mark, or a colon, a semicolon or a colon, for you grammar kids out there. So here's another little circle here, and then on the inside I bring it down like this. Now I'm going to make my mouth, and I'm going to make my mouth really smiling and kind of in the middle of the face. So I'm going to put it somewhere in here. And when you're doing this, you can totally think of what kind of noise a giraffe makes. I bet you're thinking really hard right now, aren't you? Because I, myself, had a tough time figuring out what noises a giraffe makes. And I'm stalling here so you guys can kind of think of what you actually think that a giraffe sounds like. And I'm going to give you a hint. It sounds like a regular farm animal. So I think if my research is correct, that it sounds something like a goat, maybe like a something like that. But I dare you to try and make that noise all on your own. But you can see what I did is I put a little smiley face on this, and then we have one more step to go, and it's going to be with the medium paintbrush. So, oh, actually, sorry. I take that back. I'm not done with the eyes. Hold on a second. Hold on. We need to finish up those eyes. I was so happy and having fun making my animal noises that I didn't finish the eyes. So we have to finish up the eyes, and all I do with that is I'm going to be using brown and rust on my small brush. I washed and dried it before I did this. And I'm going to put rust and brown at the bottom part of the eye, like this. Rust and brown. This is just giving you a little bit of color in that eye. And then wipe your brush on your paper towel or wash it and pick up a little bit of white, and I'm going to put a couple of twinkle dots. Twinkle, a little dot, and maybe a little dash. I'm going to go ahead and do my little guy down here. You probably won't have much place for that brown to go, but if you can put a little bit of that rust in there, maybe you just put the little twinkle dots, little twinkle. And I usually like to make 2 marks for the twinkle dots. All right, now you're going to have to wash or pick up your medium brush for the next step. All right, so I know that I told you to get out your medium brush for the next step, but I really meant your small brush. We're on to the final step, and we're going to be signing it. I'm going to use my small number 0 round brush. I'm going to use black paint. I'm going to sign mine in the bottom left corner, and I'm going to do my initials. You could do your first name, you could do the date, you could do whatever kind of identifying mark that you would like, but that's how I'm going to do mine. And that's going to conclude this painting. I hope you think your painting is as cute as I think mine is. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you loved your cookies, and I look forward to painting and eating cookies with you again sometime.
Yum yums.